So this was kind of the beginning of the end of that for me. I just realized, like, I can't do this anymore. I want a Ken doll just for me. And I don't think, I don't know, even though the world tells us we should be fine without relationships and we should be independent single women and it's fine and we're fine, I was not fine. And I tried to be cool on the outside. Inside, I wasn't cool. And so I just want to say, if any of you feel deep inside like you have this facade up that, oh no, I'm doing fine, I'm so excited, I have this great single life, like, rock on with your great single life to whatever extent, like, that's really true for you. But if there's part of you that feels like a big element of a happy life is connecting with the right guy and forming a partnership, I say bless that. I want to stand here and say, or sit here and say, that is absolutely a dream put in your heart by God. And so don't let go of it and fight for it. Fight hard for it. Even if on the outside you're just saying, okay, well, yeah, fine, I'll be together, just nod and smile. But deep inside, know what you want. Because that's part of knowing who you are and hanging in long enough to get it. So, yeah, just that's my little soapbox moment there. I'm boom for that. Now, what I did right after this, rather than sort of regroup and get a hold of myself and really get in touch with what I wanted, I insisted on it instead. So I remember this day I was walking down the street in New York City, and I just said, I'm tired of having boyfriend problems. I'm ready to have husband problems. Don't ever say that. I don't even think it was 2 weeks later. I met this handsome older man, and he gave me a diamond the size of my head. And I'll tell you what, when a guy gives you a diamond the size of your head, you can overlook so much as you're looking at it shine. And yeah, so we eloped because he didn't like his family and he didn't like my family. Which, red flags, anyone? Mm-hmm. Red flags, they're red, they're for a reason. Pay attention to them. So we eloped, and it was happily ever after for about 2 weeks because, you know, I had my completer set of jewelry. And I really liked being a wife. I liked being Mrs. Somebody. That was pretty exciting. And for 2 weeks, that was awesome. The problem was my new Prince Charming had some anger management issues. And I ignored the red flags. I thought the problem was me because everyone tells you the first year of marriage is hard. And it wasn't until about a year into things when I would get yelled at for putting the Dr. Pepper in the wrong place in the fridge. I couldn't cut my own hair. I had 2 different cell phones and a pager. He knew where I was all the time. He would just show up sometimes at my job and just scream at me for various things. And he would accuse me of having affairs, and I just thought, I don't even like having one man in my life. What makes you think I'd want another? Like, literally, the idea of cheating, adding more testosterone to my world was not what I was into at that point. But I thought the problem was me. I thought if I could get a hold of being a wife, it would be okay. And then finally my mom came to visit, and she just said, Trish, this is not you. You are not the problem, and this is not normal. And she just handed me a fistful of cash and said, run. And she saved my life. Took me a couple weeks, but eventually I did. I ran away and I hid at my best friend's house in Connecticut. And that's when you just feel the coolest, right? So you're hiding out in someone else's house. Your car gets repossessed. You can't afford food for your dog. And we had an unexpected death on my mom's side of the family. And I went to a family funeral in Buffalo, New York. And I don't know about you, I come from this huge Catholic family, and they're all awesome, and they're all perfect, and they've all married really perfect people, and they have really perfect, well-behaved kids. Like, not even perfect in an annoying sort of way, just like, wow, genuinely, like, you're cute and good-looking and, like, an awesome family. And there I am, in my parents' car. I'm living under an assumed name to hide, and it was something I came up with on Shirley MacLaine's numerology website. And so people would say, so where are you living now, Trish? And I'd be like, because I couldn't even tell anybody where I was living, because I was trying to hide out from my violent ex-husband. And I thought, what is because I'm like a bad sitcom, like a bad ABC filler TV show that nobody wants to watch. Something's got to change. But I had no idea what to change. I tried everything. So there was this one day in Buffalo, it's between the wake and the funeral, and I'm just driving down the street trying to clear my head and like just not be miserable. And I heard this voice in my head, and some of you have heard the story. I heard this voice. It was like James Earl Jones. And I felt like it said, I pulled up to a light, and it said, I have more for you, Trish. I want you to want more for yourself. I have a husband for you and a family, everything you want. But you need to take Jesus seriously. I thought, Jesus seriously. And then the light changed and the guy behind me honked and I'm like trying to drive. I'm like, take Jesus seriously. But I was kind of caught on the whole, you have a husband for me? Like, whoa, 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 let's go back to that. You have a husband. That was what you said, right? And I sensed it must be God, because who else talks to you like James Earl Jones and promises you a husband if you take Jesus seriously? I just think the number of voices that would be is pretty slim. And so I'm driving along and I just thought, like, what does it mean to take Jesus seriously? In my some experience of all of Christianity, I think I can sort of sum up for you in 3 experiences. So there was one day I was walking through Harvard Square, and these earnest students came up and handed me a pamphlet and said, if you get hit by a bus right now, do you know where you're going? And then they ran off, and I look at the pamphlet, and it has like a stick figure suspended like over the flames of hell. And I thought, what does this have to do with the bus? I didn't know, so I just threw the pamphlet away and looked, and the students were like watching me, like waiting to see if I got hit, I guess. I don't know. And then there was this other, when I was working for this New Age author, I went to spy on the Christian Coalition, and I met these guys from a Christian law school, one I spoke at last week, interestingly enough. I told this story, and I didn't realize that like the guys were all there looking for wives. They were good, so I was talking to these good-looking law students, and this one law student looks at me and he goes, I just long to be the bride of Christ. I was like, okay, weird boy. Like, I get to be the bride. I don't want to date anyone who wants to be the bride. Thanks. And then when things were really falling apart with my first marriage, I'd gone to a church, and the sermon was on why our pets won't be in heaven. And I just thought, I don't even know if that's theologically true. I'm not sure I care. But I know it doesn't get me through the week. Like that may help all of you guys. Whatever, I guess that's your big concern in life, but it doesn't help me. And so, once I sort of ran through that in my brain, I just said, well, God, you're going to have to help me. I'll take Jesus seriously, whatever that means, but you're going to have to help me. And it wasn't too long after that a friend told me about this church, and she was like, they're Christians. Like, they don't have sex before marriage, and they eat bagels and coffee on Sunday mornings. They're like the real deal. And I just thought, well, the circus has come to town. I get to see Christians in their natural habitat. And I thought, well, they'll teach me how to take Jesus seriously. And so I came to church that next Sunday. I was right there. And I looked around, and I was like, okay, God, where's my husband? Where is he? Are you him? No, you're not him. Okay. And that was my whole mindset. Now, I tell this story because for me, this was a turning point between settling. So before then, you know, I'm dating the guy who lives with his parents and is unemployed with the DWIs, and then followed that up with the guy with the anger management issues, so I married him. My dad was like, at least all the other guys were nice. You married the one with the violent one. What's up with that? So clearly, even though I would have told you I was someone who didn't want to settle, if you looked at my actual life, settling was what my whole dating life was about. I think ever since that first fiance cheated on me in college, I'd never gotten my confidence back. I'd never really believed that there could be someone good for me. But yet when I came here, I didn't find a husband right away. What I found were a whole bunch of people who were willing to help me look at these questions about being wise and being brave, and help me figure out not what that should look like on some grand scheme that applies to everyone, because I don't think there is any grand scheme that applies to everyone. They helped me look at, okay, who are you, Trish? What does this look like for you? And that's what I thought about as I read Lori Gottlieb's book, this book, Marry Him, that I just mentioned. She had a ton of help. One of the things I love about the book is she's really candid about where her expectations seem to be a little off. She had tons of help, though. I mean, when you say you have a book contract, you can enlist suddenly like the best therapist and the best psychologist, and she had all these matchmakers. It's really interesting stuff. And what a lot of them said to her was, you don't seem to know yourself. You don't seem to know what you're looking for, or what you have to offer, or kind of what the hurdles would be in a relationship. And, you know, she makes this great point about how many guys she walked away from because they hadn't read the right book, so they weren't sophisticated enough. And she points out, like, now she's a single mom, and she just says, sophistication doesn't seem like all that big a deal when my day's about changing diapers and managing schedules and figuring out who's going to call the plumber to get the toilet fixed. And I think, yeah, that's, you know, so you want to